Gwen. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This morning I'll speak to you about the developing Bayan Khundii Gold District in southwestern Mongolia. We are focused on an unexplored portion of one of the world's great gold belts. The Central Asian Orogenic Belt runs through Central Asia, hosts a number of 10 million ounce plus deposits, most importantly in our neck of the woods, the Oyu Tolgoi deposit, which is over 60 million ounces of gold. We've had the privilege of going into an area of this belt that had never before witnessed modern exploration. We started this over a decade ago. We've invested heavily into regional exploration over an area of over 400 kilometers in length. And that's now led us to the discovery of 3 deposits. We have a molybdenum copper porphyry deposit, the Altan Nar gold polymetallic discovery that we made back in 2011, and more recently, in the project that we're now focused on moving towards development, the Bayan Khundii deposit. And what really drives this is grade. And I'll go through this a number of times through this presentation, but when you can find 3.5 gram per ton open pit deposits in the world today, they get mined very rapidly. This is an area also that has witnessed significant infrastructure improvement since I arrived. If you go back 10 years plus, the rails, the roads, the mine that you see in southern Mongolia didn't exist. So from what was remote, infrastructurally challenged, is now 200 kilometers from major blacktop highways and railways. Our focus is on moving forward with the 100% owned gold deposits. As you'll see, we've moved into the feasibility level on one of those deposits. We have a new gold district, exceptional exploration upside, and we're the longest standing international exploration and mining company in the country with a strong social license to operate. The location of these properties you can see on the map in front of you. We're focused on Bayan Khundii in the southern part. Altan Nar is the second project we'll move forward with, but I'll also touch on some of that exploration upside that I referenced a moment ago. We've been growing our resources rapidly. 2015, we came out with 200,000 ounces. Last year, we exceeded 1 million ounces, but note the grade for deposits that are within 150 meters of surface and open at surface. This is the Bayan Khundii deposit area. This is where we plan to initiate our 60,000 ounce per year production. As you can see, not a lot of community issues in this area. This is the least densely populated place in Mongolia, which puts it pretty close to the least densely populated place on the planet. The pit will be starting just about where this photo is taken from and will extend to that northeast zone you see on the left. And to look at an image through that initial pit, you can see it here, about 800 meters long. That initial pit contains over 400,000 ounces of 3.7 grams per ton. It'll have a 10-to-1 strip ratio, and we'll recover about 91% of the gold. That's where you come up with an average of about 60,000 ounces per year for that initial development. Our PFS came out in October. This is a summary of that. The numbers you see at the top of the page reflect a $1,300 gold price, $97 million US NPV, a 42% IRR, a low capital cost driven by high grade and therefore a small plant footprint, all-in sustaining costs of approximately $750 US, 60,000 ounce per year production, and a 7-year mine life. You'll see as we go through this, there's a number of options for adding to that mine life as we move forward. I'd also point out the sensitivity to gold on the bottom of that page, where you can see NPV on the left and IRR on the right. At current gold prices, we're exceeding a $150 million NPV. Our market cap today is somewhere in the range of $30 million US. On a comparative basis with others going through the studies phase, you can see that we're on the low end of that CapEx. Again, it's driven by the small size of the plant, but also by the contract mining that we'll utilize in Mongolia. Very competitive jurisdiction for contract mining, given the amount of coal and copper moved throughout that country. And on the bottom, the return on investment, as you can see, we're in good company with a plus 40% return on investment at $1,300 gold. Again, what drives this? High-grade gold. We're in the top decile of open-pit gold mines today, 3.7 grams, which is over 3 times the global average grade. The design work is now underway. That's actually some images we received recently from our engineers on how the plant site will look. The plant design, simple open-pit carbonate pulp plant, crush, grind, carbonate pulp with good recoveries, very simple ore. We have pulled together a consortium of consultants that we believe are experts in not only completing the feasibility, but those that can help us take this right through to the production stage. The schedule, we intend to deliver the feasibility study mid-year. Alongside that, the permits. We will move through early earthworks and construction late this year and early next, and then move into production in late 2021 into 2022. I would note that on the far left of that slide, we have delivered everything we said we would over the last 18 months, 2 resource estimates, mining licenses, PEA, and a pre-feasibility study. Looking at the upside of this area and these deposits, this is that 420,000 ounce pit. But around that and below that, there's another 100,000 ounces of inferred and indicated at over 3 grams per ton that we'll look to access. In addition to that, we've drilled some holes half a kilometer south of the pit and begun to hit anomalous gold in that region. In an area 3.5 kilometers north of the pit, you can see the Harmore and Alton Arrow areas. This is a very exciting new addition to the upside of this district. We began in September to pick up samples that were running over 30 grams per ton at Harmore, and we've now done a 3D interpretation, structural interpretation of that target, and we're very excited about what we're seeing. The nearest we come to this new structure we've identified was in that inset box in the top left. You'll see a couple of drill hole intersections. So we had hit high-grade gold here. We were up to 2 meters of 24 grams, 2 meters of 70 grams, but this new interpretation has now indicated very high grades of gold along this structure, 1 kilometers long, and there's been no drilling near that other than that 300-meter intersection I just mentioned. So we're really looking forward to getting out here and testing this new area we call Harmore, which was discovered late last year. In addition to that, 16 kilometers north, we have the Alton Nar project. Alton Nar is a bit of a different animal. This is a gold polymetallic deposit, which we discovered first in 2012, and we did a limited amount of drilling on that, but we had pulled together a 500,000 ounce resource, which you can see on the bottom of that page. That was combined with another 3 million ounces of silver and about 100 million pounds each of lead and zinc. So a very large base, but we've only explored a small portion of this resource area. Most of this is shallow, within 150 meters of surface. And now that we have Bayan Khundi's exploration somewhat put to bed for the moment and moving through feasibility, we've been able to go over and shift our focus to look at Harmore, look at Alton Nar. So a lot of work is going on behind the scenes to firm up these targets. And in November, we went back and drilled a high-grade zone that we kind of left open-ended back in 2017 to join up the high-grade core of one of these 18 targets. We call this the discovery zone. And that's where we hit 45 grams per ton over 7 meters. This was announced just several weeks ago. And that's opened up the boiling zone section of the discovery zone, but allows us to look elsewhere in this deposit area as well. So we're really getting our heads around some very exciting targets at both Harmore and at Alton Nar that we'll get to as we move through this year. Mongolia, at a glance, a democracy sitting between China and Russia. It is very dependent on mining. It is a growing mining region. It does have a supportive regulatory regime with a 5% flat fee on NSR gold, 25% corporate income tax rate, double tax treaty with Canada, and a foreign investment promotion and protection agreement that was signed 2 years ago with the Canadian government. Mongolia is seeing a growing hard rock mining industry, anchored by Oyu Tolgoi, obviously in the south, Rio Tinto's biggest mining project, but also a collection of hard rock gold mines now being built, private in some cases, but also Steppe Gold up in the northeast in the 50 to 60,000 ounce range, some in production, some moving towards that. A couple of key messages on our technical and social license to operate. We have been in Mongolia for over 20 years. We have recently secured a financing from the European Bank of Reconstruction and Development. They've put in $5 million to fund us through feasibility and permitting, and have indicated they would be a cornerstone investor when it comes to project finance. We became the first cross-listed company on the Mongolian Stock Exchange 2 years ago, and as a result, we have 6,000 Mongolian shareholders, so strong support in the country. And we've spent 15 years investing in this community, in this province that we're working in. We have very strong relationships locally. A board that I believe is second to none for Mongolia. It includes very strong expertise on the government relations, diplomatic, mining, and finance side. Our market capitalization today is about $30 million. Like everyone else, that's about a third less than it was a week ago. We are well cashed up. We have over $4 million. As I mentioned, we have the support of the European Bank of Reconstruction and Development. And we have a feasibility study that today has a MPV of $150 million and a market cap of $30 million. We have exceptional upside in both the de-risking of this project and exploration, value, growth, and people. Thank you very much. Almost done.